Breaking news that WA and the entire country has been waiting for. Little Cleo Smith has been found and she's alive. Police raided a Carnarvon home in the early hours of this morning, smashing their way into a locked room to find the 4-year-old girl. We have reporters standing by with the latest developments. First to Joshua Dorr, who's in Carnarvon. Josh, the little girl has been reunited with her parents.
She has, Tracy. Good morning. It's the most fantastic news that the town of Carnarvon and the whole country is waking up to at the moment. Let me just take you through the scene that we're at the moment. This is Tonkin Crescent in Carnarvon, and this here, 18A, is the property where Cleo Smith was found this morning. It was around 12:46 a.m. where police conducted a raid on this home after receiving some information late last night. They acted very swiftly. They arrived here. Officers raided the property here, entered the home, found a little girl locked inside one of the rooms. The officer asks, "What's your name?" And she said, "My name is Cleo." And she's taken from here and reunited with her family. Just the most incredible result. This home here, this area, is only 7 minutes away from the family home in Carnarvon. Simply incredible, really, to think that given all the possibilities of where Cleo could have been, it's been 19 days since she disappeared from her tent while camping out at the Blowholes campsite. To think that she would be found here in Carnarvon. I'll just take you through a little bit of the street. It's a fairly quiet, normal suburban street, and as you look at the house again, nothing to suggest that anything sinister would have happened here. There is still a car in the driveway. The Sheriff's Department has just arrived. There's a couple of dogs, I understand, just sort of in the property at the moment. It's police have had this taped off all morning here. Obviously, this will be a forensic crime scene that detectives who have visited the home already this morning will be continuing to comb through to search for evidence, while that 36-year-old man who resides here is in custody at the Carnarvon Police Station being interviewed by police at the moment. They arrived pretty early this morning. The news filtered through a release at 4:23 a.m. And those detectives were in fairly early at the police station with a massive smile on their face. And why not? Because they have worked so hard on this case and they have cracked what is a case that a lot of people potentially were sort of losing some hope for. The neighbours here have been waking up. We spoke to a couple as the morning arrived, and they've just been really amazed at the result. And one gentleman's Henry. Henry, you're live on Channel 9. Mate, this is fantastic news. You were here this morning when it happened. Can you just talk me through a bit what happened?
I was here this morning. I ran, was last night, midnight, yeah, around about 11, 12. And then it started getting a bit something like that there. Saw detectives and that all here. Yeah, but we never went closer. We just stood up at the house and watched them. Yeah, but we saw them grabbing a hold of something tight and taking them to the car, I think, which was Cleo. Yeah.
And so you went up and you came a little bit closer. Can you tell me what you saw?
I came a bit closer and I looked out the window, and Cleo, she looked at me, yeah, like she was a bit scared and that. She looked at me, big shock. Yeah, I looked and I got a shock too because I saw her, you know. Yeah, and I knew what she looked like because I seen her post and all that there, yeah.
Did you hear much at the time when police arrived?
No, I never heard much. Like, wouldn't go next to the police, wouldn't go getting closer to them. We just let them do their job and that, yeah, until we get our time to speak and that, yeah.
And you mentioned she sort of looked scared. Did she look injured at all? What did she look like? Can you describe it for us?
No, she just looked about healthy. Like she wasn't like any bruising it. Yeah, because She was in the back of the police car.
Yep.
Yeah. Couldn't see her hardly, but I just saw her face and that, just looking at me. Yeah.
In her little pajamas.
You guys, so you guys live here. I mean, what were your reaction when you considered that she was right here?
We were frightened. My man, he came in. He was like frightened and shaking because he said, that police officer carried a little girl out, and he was thinking, that must be Cleo. And yeah, they come running inside in the house and woke us up, because I thought someone was fighting out the front, and I opened my window up and they come running in the house and they were like, I think they found Cleo, because I seen a police officer walk out holding her, and Cleo was holding that police officer very tight and frightened, but she looked very well and wasn't, just in her PJs, and that's when she got taken.
Can you tell me a little bit about the street here? And I mean, do you know anything about the man who lived at that house?
Yeah, I know that man, but it's quiet, this street. And my mum, she lived in this house for over 17 years, and nothing like this never happened before in this street. This is everyone knows everyone in this street, and it's quite known street. But
You've obviously guys got a little one here yourself as well. So I mean, what do you feel when you think?
I feel scared. Like I feel scared for my son. Like honestly, because this street is just, everyone knows this street, and like that little girl got found in our street, like just a house down from us. I just feel scared and frightened now of the whole of Carnarvon.
Henry, you said obviously you guys have been, keeping track of this story. But obviously everyone's been talking about it here in Carnarvon. So how relieved are people here that she's been found?
Everyone just,
all happy about it. Shocked.
just happy that they're gonna see her wherever, that schoolmates and all that, Happy that she's found and that,
Well, thank you so much, guys, for having a chat to us. I really appreciate it. There you go, Tracy. You get a bit of a sense of, I guess, some of the feeling that's happening here in this street. And as I said, it's not far from where the parents live. They have reunited this morning with little Cleo and her little sister Isla as well. It's been such a tough time for them. They have been obviously subjected to so much scrutiny and speculation from online trolls. We've had the police obviously ridicule and rubbish some of these messages that they've been receiving the whole way through this operation. They've been helping out police involved with this investigation from the very early stages and haven't been considered suspects. This morning they are reuniting. We saw a post from Ellie Smith on Instagram sharing some of the news that Cleo had been found, and she was just so relieved, and you can only imagine how those reunions are going at the moment. The focus at the moment, of course, now for detectives will be continuing to go through this home, but it is a massive reward for all the effort that has been thrown at this. Hundreds of officers, they've been continuing to switch through here in Carnarvon. As late as yesterday, we saw drone operations over the skies, continuing to search through the dirt tracks and trails, trying to find an answer, a hope, and there was all sorts of speculation as to what could happen next. Satellite space imagery was being reached out, and talk of more police arriving, potentially the dog squad to help out the search. So I guess there was a feeling here in Carnarvon that as each day went past, there was the fear that potentially might get lost, but she has been found. This is what Cole Blanche, the Deputy Assistant Commissioner, had to say this morning on the news.
One of the officers picked her up into his arms and asked her, "What's your name?" She said, "My name is Cleo." It's the outcome we've achieved because of some incredible police work, and I want to thank Cleo's parents, the Western Australian community, and all of the volunteers. And of course, I want to thank my colleagues in the Western Australian Police Force. I can confirm that we have a man from Carnarvon in custody who is currently being questioned by detectives.
So the Police Commissioner is on his way up to Carnarvon this morning. He will meet with the parents of Cleo Smith and help with those investigations in the interviews with that 36-year-old man in custody. We'll also hear from the lead detective, Rod Wild, a little bit later today, who'll provide an update and hopefully shed a little bit more light on his actions and movements, this man who is in custody, that is. But of course, repeating the fantastic news, Tracy, Cleo Smith found alive and well at a home here in Carnarvon and back with her family as we speak to you at the moment.
Yeah, I think we're all in shock but elated at the news at the same time. Josh, we'll check back in with you very shortly. We'll move on now, and Cleo's mother, as Josh mentioned earlier, Ellie, has shared her relief on social media, featuring a photo of Cleo. The post is just 5 words: "Our family is whole again." But that simple statement sums up her elation. Just 8 hours earlier, in her last activity online, she shared an appeal to find her daughter. Now she has her little girl back. This morning's incredible breakthrough comes 18 days after little Cleo Smith vanished from the Blowholes campsite. The investigation from police has been relentless after officers very quickly realised the 4-year-old had been taken.
She was WA's little girl lost who captured the hearts of a nation. On Friday, the 15th of October, Cleo Smith and her family arrived at Blowholes campsite in McLeod, north of Carnarvon. At 1:30am, the 4-year-old woke for a drink of water, then went back to sleep. By 6:30am, she was gone, along with her sleeping bag. A major land and sea search was launched, and it seemed like the whole of Carnarvon was looking.
I actually thought I would have found her.
Did you think that you might actually find her?
Yep, I really did. I went down the beaches, along the beaches where the other people didn't have a look, couldn't get there, so I had to take the bike along.
Dear little thing, like friendly, happy, gorgeous little girl, full of life.
People are in shock, obviously, and people are hurting for this family.
But police would quickly discover it was not a simple case of a little girl gone missing, and instead something far more sinister. Cleo Smith was taken. Her parents also certain their little girl could not have wandered off by herself. They issued their first emotional plea for information, describing the terrifying moment they realised she had vanished from their tent.
She would be terrified. She would be so scared. The worst part is we can't do anything more. It's out of our hands, so we just feel hopeless and out of control. She would never leave us. She would never leave the tent. Yeah, she was gone. The tent was completely open. It was about 30 centimetres from being open, and I turned around to Jake and I just said, Cleo's gone.
The land and sea search concluded as police focused on an abduction theory and appealed for dashcam and CCTV footage within a staggering 1,000-kilometre radius from the Blowholes campsite. At the same time, the WA government offered a $1 million reward to find Cleo and whoever took her, putting on display examples of her sleeping bag and little pink pyjamas. Reports emerged of a car heard screeching away from the campground on that fateful night. Then a twist. Police began scouring Cleo's family home for any signs she may have been stalked in the lead-up to her kidnapping. Soon after, a development. Witnesses came forward saying they saw a small passenger vehicle leaving the camp area an hour and a half after the 4-year-old's parents last saw her in their tent. The search broadened, detectives asking every West Australian to check their sheds and abandoned vehicles. Cleo's parents grew more and more desperate by the day.
The person that's watching that has Cleo, we want her home. We want her to be home with our baby. We want her in our arms.
I would plan to head down to the beach, teach Cleo to go swimming, and pretty much Isla's first camping trip.
And there is no way that either myself or Jake could have done anything to hurt our daughter. If you know anything at all, call the police, because we want our daughter back and she wants us. Our daughter, Isla, she needs her big sister.
Ellie Smith and Jake Glidden spent hours upon hours at Carnarvon Police Station helping investigators in every way they could. The man in charge of Task Force Rodea, Rod Wild, arrived from Perth.
As I've said previously, it's a thorough investigation and that's what we're continuing.
Police yesterday admitted Cleo Smith's abductor may not have been caught on a single security camera while fleeing the Blowholes campsite, the area just too remote, but they also said their answers may come from eyes in space instead, revealing they were calling on data from satellites. No one yet knows what prompted this major breakthrough, but everyone's beyond glad it's happened. Renee Henry, 9 News.
Let's bring in Mia Edgerton-Warburton now. Mia, you spent a week in Carnarvon covering the search. The community had been praying for this outcome.
They had, Tracy, and you can only imagine how they've been feeling this morning, completely in shock and also elated that they've managed to find little Cleo. They held a number of candlelight vigils in the days after she went missing. This was primarily to pray for a good outcome, but also to bring the community together. Carnarvon is relatively small. There's only about 4,000 people that live there. Everyone sort of knows each other. A lot of people know Cleo Smith, or at least know her family. So this very much affected the community as a whole. Cleo's own school held those vigils as well. There were message books at those vigils, just trying to keep the family and community in those good spirits. And on the day she went missing, that horrible morning, members of the community really rallied. We saw them join that land search on foot. We saw local businesses go up in the sky and search the lands and try and find her from the sky, giving up their own time. We saw people donate food to feed the front line. We saw people donate their time and money to make signs, stickers. You couldn't walk through Carnarvon without seeing Cleo Smith's little face. Every single car had her face on the back of it. It really was absolutely unbelievable, and the community, when you spoke to them, were really in shock that something like this could happen to them. It could happen in Carnarvon or at the Blowholes campsite, in a place that is so remote. People were worried that this could happen to their own children, but the community really didn't give up hope. They thought they would find her. They thought that they could get her home. We spoke to a few of them at the time. Have a listen to what they had to say.
Let's find the girl. That's what it is. Yeah. If she's inducted, she could still be alive.
She's a dear little thing, like friendly, happy, gorgeous little girl, full of life.
You sort of have an extra set of eyes. Not that you want that, and we live in Australia for the reason that you generally don't have to do that. Someone has to know something. Someone has to slip up somewhere.
So everyone in the community largely knew the Smith family, and when I spoke to them, they all said nothing but nice things. They said there's no way that they could have ever done anything to harm their child, and they've really been put on the spot on social media in the last few days, really been sort of prosecuted by the public, Cleo's family, Cleo's parents, and to find out that she's been found, and that she's been found in Carnarvon, only 7 minutes away from where her family home was, in a town which has been covered with police over the last few days, Tracy. It really is unbelievable, and I can imagine they're only in shock this morning.
And so much relief for Ellie Smith and Jake Glidden, her stepfather. All right, Mia, thank you for that.